doing library.
Yes, you got 3, 2, 1. 7 o'clock, call the meeting to order.
This is 7.
Approval of the minutes from September 9th. Motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Audience of citizens, Brian Hughes. Anybody with you there, Bart?
Nobody here but me.
All right. The expansion, Bart. Brian, you're up. Renovation of the responsible facilities.
Excellent. Didn't know where I was in the agenda. This is great.
Number 1.
Which
This
is
is
right at
great.
the top.
And, you should have received these in your packet, but I just have fancy copies for you tonight.
Just go to the side of that, so you don't see the back side.
Yep. Here's a copy for you. Should I be on the other end, is what you're saying? I'll be good. Yeah. The space needs that I handed out replaces the space needs from 2008, 2013, and 2015. The one we had that was from 2015 was the basis of what I'm going to show you tonight. But we had to get the square footage from 26,009 down to 15,000. So working with the police department staff, it was the acting chief and the lieutenants who I sat with. They went through the document and we did a lot of edits. Obviously, some of the things had to get taken out completely. Some of the things had to get reduced in size. Some of the things that were in the original document stayed exactly as is. We went over numbers as far as quantity, locker rooms, how many lockers do you want in the locker room? What's the right number that we're shooting for? So let me shoot over now to the 2021, what I just handed out. This is the document that I went to the police commission on their agenda on September 15th. And this is the document that was resulted in our conversation through the police department. The police department saw it, they endorsed it, and on September 15th, I went to the police commission and walked them through this document, and they also voted to endorse this. But we have two checks already. Let me explain what's in it for you tonight. The current police area is 10,876. Now I'm going to get my visuals. And I'll have these handouts for you also.
What is to bring it down closer to the camera? Or
It doesn't make any difference. I can't, it's so far away with the fisheye, I can't see it, so.
Bart, you should have had these in your packet. So
Yeah.
I think you.
Yeah, I'm down to one screen, so I can't open up and look at anything at the same time.
All right.
I reviewed them though.
876. This represents the current PD in all of their occupied spaces. The areas in gray are areas that are not currently associated with the police department. So 10,876, this is what it represents. If I go to page 2 on this space needs assessment, page 2 has a description of the space, public space, vestibule. It describes what they want to achieve in the vestibule. And over on the right side of the page, I have two numbers, a 90 and a 90. So if you're looking at the number at the top of the line, that's the proposed square footage. Below the line is the existing square footage. So right there, you can tell they have a 90 square foot vestibule, and we're proposing a 90 square foot vestibule. Means We're not doing anything to the benefit. If you look at the lobby, 245, that's their lobby, 245. It's gonna stay at 245. We're not doing anything for the lobby, reception and waiting. Public toilets, the same thing. In interview permitting, the room that we just put in here, 90 square feet, we're leaving it alone. So that's kind of how we went through this with the police department. Areas that were kind of off limits to what we were looking to achieve, we just kept the same square footage. But if you look on page 3, their desire is to have a training classroom EOC at 700 square feet. That was in the earlier cost space needs assessment, and right now they have 0. So some of the things we want to implement into the plan that they don't currently have. And that's one example. But the dispatch center, 235, 235, pretty much is gonna stay the same. Bathroom, everything within the dispatch,
Dispatch
They're
themselves are staying same location.
they're satisfied, they're done. We're not looking to do anything. Records division, 450, done. No interest in doing anything. Administration, we do have some edits in the administrative area. The chief's office stays the same, but the deputy chief, the lieutenant, actually goes down a little. Because we made all the lieutenants at 150, just as a comparable. But the administrative assistant is currently right here. And she is working out of 128 square feet. It's crowded, it's congested, there's no room for files in there for her. The files are spread out throughout the rest of the department. It's really not organized well. So administrative assistant goes to 335, and the conference room, caucus room stays at 300. That's the room they have currently. Detective Bureau, we look to do some shifts with sizes for the detective work area. Because right now, you're seeing that the 700 square feet is going down to 525, around 6B right now. But they don't have an individual lieutenant's office there. So if you take the 525 and you add 150 for a separate lieutenant's office, I'm at 675, they have 700. That's the difference. They want to make an individual office for lieutenants. So all lieutenants have individual offices. The detective lieutenant right now is in the main workroom. Interview room, youth officer. We reduced the square footage because it was the size of the lieutenant's office. Support services stays the same, and I'm on page 7 now. Control functions, this is your biggest delta. Your biggest delta is because locker rooms. You're looking at some of the things stayed the same, like sergeant's office, roll call. But if you're looking at the locker rooms, 855 is what they have in this blue area for lockers. 1460 is the new number for properly sized lockers.
We all do it.
49 lockers for male, 12 lockers for female and how do we come up with those numbers? Future growth of the department looks like they're gonna be around a 50-man department, a 50-person department. If we can take any department in Connecticut right now and try to project out what's the female-male ratio, we always like to say at least 20% is future growth. 20% of the department has the potential to be a female staff. So here we say at 12, we're about 24% females. Few departments in Connecticut are even at that level right now, but there are more females looking to apply. So we're trying to project out what could be the female locker room requirement, and that's how we come up with the number. And we use that 20 to 25% for any department in Connecticut. Physical training, the bottom of page 8, 270 square feet currently, but I'll tell you, the 270 square feet is because they've done a makeshift physical training in the old firearms range. It's really not a training room, it's just they've grabbed space. That's 270 square feet. They really are requesting a proper physical training room. So I've put 800 square feet on that, to a properly sized physical training room. The day room right now is small. It's a small room, doesn't serve them too well. We're almost doubling the size of their day room. And giving them some storage room for supplies. By far, the biggest increase in square footage has to do with patrol functions. But Sallyport has never worked for them. Sallyport right now is down here. It leads into prisoner processing. Sallyport has always been too narrow. And when you get too narrow, you become unsafe. When I design police facilities, officer safety is really not negotiable. I have to put them into a safe condition. They rarely use this Sallyport just because it's not safe. They can't open doors, they're finding it's too constricted. They would like 2 Sallyport bays. So at 378 currently, I drove that number to 1,000 square feet. 500 square feet a bay, 450 to 500 square feet a bay gives you a safe maneuvering for a Sallyport. Prisoner processing, it's made up of a lot of small rooms. And with a lot of small rooms, again, officer safety is a concern. They're going through doorways, they're going through constricted spaces, they're going through areas that really don't allow enough space for safety. So I bumped the prisoner processing up to 540. There is a shower currently. We're going to keep the shower. There's an interview room currently. And then prisoner release is just how they release it back to the public. Detention on page 11, detention stays the same. We just renovated the cells. 240 stays 240, detention area is 80. And the difference between the detention cells and the detention area is just the area in front of the cells, the circulation area. That's where we can put the detention cells. No change. The way that evidence is handled and processed down in the police department right now is not up to accreditation standards. They have evidence here, evidence here, evidence here, evidence here. Chain of custody is really substandard in that process. We're trying to get this all back to an accredited position for evidence storage. And with some of that, you need to double lock evidence. So on page 12, this item D, double locked evidence storage. Certain things, firearms, valuables, narcotics, all have to be double locked to meet accreditation. They can't, they're not achieving that properly with what they're doing, so we're shifting numbers around to make sure we have a proper evidence storage, receiving, and handling.
For the production space, are you just making it more efficient?
Well, I'll show you the proposed plan. We're gonna make everything more efficient. For the armory, they have an armory, but they don't have a gun cleaning area. So how they're having to clean and maintain their firearms is they bring them over to roll call, they'll bring them over to different areas of the department, and it's just not, one, not safe, not proper, and you don't have the ventilation required for what they're doing. Technology coordinator, they have one currently, they have an office here, they're gonna stay in that office. And then the rest is bathrooms and custodial. What I've done, on page 14, bulk storage, they have 605. They would really like bulk storage and department storage, dive team equipment, road supplies, and medical storage, 2 separate areas, instead of all one big area. So right now they have 605 square feet, kind of breaking that up and adding some square footage to how they're storing things, but they really want to separate out Little did I realize their dive team equipment, dive team van, is all outside in an unheated shed. If they need to get that equipment in cold weather or winter time, they're going into cold equipment and pulling it out and trying to get into their equipment. It's good that they have the equipment, it's not properly stored. They'd like to get it into a conditioned space, just so they can have it readily available at all times. Then the mechanical boiler, it's all the gray area that's supporting the town hall and the rest of the DD. So we're really not doing anything with that space. So it's not part of our 10,876. On page 15, I gave you a nice summary. So all of the proposed space, the existing spaces are there, and that's what you see on this plan. All the existing spaces with their square footages. And the proposed square footage, which now brings us up to 15,340. The biggest shift, as I said, patrol functions are going 2320 up to 3905. Sallyport, you're going 378 up to 1,000. And then you're doing slight modifications in other areas. But 15,340. 15,340 takes this plan, takes this area in gray, it takes half of this storage area in this part of it. We know this is Board of Ed storage. We were told we can have this space. We're requesting half of this space.
The discussion I had with Adam, would say, come up with your plan, it shows the plans, we can move stuff. Whatever you want, you can have, basically, so we can, based on the conversation I had, we can work.
This half is food pantry. And I think there's been some discussion about, is this the right place for the food pantry? It doesn't need to be. The other half is high density shelving for the town clerk storage of records. I just saw this seems to be an easier ask than getting involved with all of the storage here. Ideally, they'd like to grab all of it. But I'm just giving square footage to say, at this point, half might be the ask, and if you can get the whole thing, we could use it. But how do we get to 15,340? As I said, it's this space plus half of this space.
But I remember the same idea we had for what we're proposing to do police station. I thought it was pretty close to that.
We now is 28.
26, 27,000.
Yeah,
More than twice the size of the existing.
yeah,
So
26.9, 26.9,
26, that's what I remember.
26.9.
Because we still don't have any public meeting space within the police department.
Which is what they want that training class. So I put this plan together for me first to say, what am I starting from? But then I put color on it for you to show you this is not real efficient the way they're using it right now. The way they're using this plan right now is the best that they can come up with. They've grabbed space, they've pushed space. But for instance, the tan spaces, administration and dispatch obviously want to be adjacent to the lobby, to public spaces. That works. We have the tan spaces adjacent. But the blue spaces are all the patrol spaces, and they're kind of all over the place. The green spaces are detective and evidence. And they're kind of all over the place. The red space is all your prisoner processing and detention. And then these other are storage spaces that they have. Armory is patrol space. They have, this is storage, that's a storage room. Okay, this is where the magic happens. Look at the colors first off. You still have your tan spaces adjacent to your public spaces. But but you're now taking public space and grabbing that. So your public spaces are all still here. You're driving public now into this training classroom. Your green spaces, all your detective evidence, right here, all adjacent to where it needs to be. That's bulk evidence. So it can't be in this space. It's large objects. But all of your evidence receiving, processing, storage, double lock storage, all your detective bureau, lieutenant's office, booth officer is all right here. Now the detective bureau has exterior windows also. Your blue spaces are more concentrated together. You have the lieutenant, adjacent to support services, roll call. This is now report, your common room. This is a new day room, storage room. This is how we take over the space, primarily for patrol. We take a new corridor off the existing corridor, drive a new corridor to the rear of the building. Center of the plan is physical training. It's an 800 square foot gym area. This area of the pistol range is a new female locker room. Male locker room, showers, male lockers, 49 lockers, 12 lockers for female. Off the armory, provide a gun cleaning space for proper handling and maintenance of firearms. The sally ports. We're using an existing overhead door, we're adding an overhead door, but now 2 properly sized sally port bays. We come into the prisoner processing area through what was an unused bathroom, matron room. We open up the entire prisoner processing area, provide 2 booking rooms, plenty of space, a much safer condition. Now they have 2 booking rooms where detainees can go into individual rooms. The officer closes that door, now comes around to the other side, and does all their booking and processing while that detainee is secured. It's now a much safer environment for that whole process. We open up the space, we grab what was an interview room, we open it up for toxilizer, which is a breathalyzer machine, fingerprinting. Then we use what was the evidence receiving room and utilize that as an interview room. Still lots of prisoner processing, but now for a more hardened interview space. You're supposed to provide for accreditation in 3 areas of interview. 1 off the public, 1 off detectives, 1 off public prisoner processing. 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. We have different ways of interviewing and separating people if they need to separate. So all of this is a new sally port. We have a wire mesh partition curtain between the 2. They can use this bay to now bring in any forensics holds, a vehicle they might have to process, anything they might have to store and handle as evidence. And now they can close it off, secure that bay, make that bay strictly for an evidence hold. They still have use of the sally port. If there's nothing in here, this gate comes open, they have a 2-bay sally port. This old sally port just becomes storage for them. Down here, put another overhead door in the wall. Grab this for dive team van, road supplies, medical supplies, and also use this caged area for bulk evidence that they need to bring in large objects. And this could be any large object. It's stuff that can't get into this locked area. It could be a keg of beer, it could be a couch, it could be anything that is a large object. They're required to keep it and store it. So that's what this is down here. Getting back to this training EOC, it's the Detective Bureau right now. That whole area is cleaned up. and opened up for a training classroom, EOC, but also this is now suitable for police commission meetings. Because public can come in here, they open the door to this now interior vestibule. We have access control at 2 points on the corridor. So public can come into this inner vestibule, into the training lab, and leave, get to the lobby and exit at any. Police commission can come across from this conference room if they get a caucus room. Sometimes you have to leave that meeting in caucus. They don't have to kick the public out, they kick themselves out. And they'll go over here and come back. So this door would have access control. Secure. Public are not allowed in that direction, public are only allowed in this direction. Also, the EOC function, if there's a natural emergency or disaster or something they need to get the department together, they still have access control of the lobby. They just utilize this interior space for their emergency operations center purposes. So they have the flexibility with access control on how this works. But any officer would only be coming into this vestibule area to meet the public. They would be going around this direction for the majority of their circulation needs. Now we'll get back to administration, because what we've done is taken the administrative assistant, opened them up into the adjacent office. Marching now gets natural light for the very first time. Taken the old day room, we turned that into the deputy chief's office. So I have chief, deputy, conference room, administrative assistant, all together in this area. The old locker room, as I said, briefing and roll call, day room, and then supply storage. This gets some renovation, but we're utilizing the plumbing in that wet area. Right now it's their bathroom area for their locker rooms. So that's the kitchen area for a new day room. This plan works. I've designed police stations, a lot of police stations. This plan works. And this plan represents what we just went through. And how we've taken now 15,340, reorganized it, made it more efficient, more functional, and given them a safe environment to work. We did present this back to the chief, acting chief, and lieutenants. And they said, when can we start? We have not presented this, though, to the police commission. You're the first board that's seen this plan. I wanted to get your reaction first. I didn't want to be out there selling.
We went to the police commission though for,
Only this.
Oh, statement.
it's just a statement of need.
Only this.
Right, it's basic needs assessment, gotcha. So if they haven't seen the product.
They saw this,
Right.
and they saw this.
What you have, right?
That's where we're starting from. And I told them all the square footage that we went through, I'm gonna try to accomplish that.
Yeah, but a lot of
But they haven't.
people see the square foot numbers and read them, but they understand pictures a lot better.
I think the biggest question I have right now is, as far as time goes, Brian, you know, would you say 15 years, 20 years? If you had you're the expert in this there.
In reality, Tom.
I hope they get it done quicker.
No, I'm not. Good point.
If you're gonna renovate this, it's a 20-year solution.
That's, I just want to make sure that we're not gonna have something where in 5 years
We're out of,
It's a little bigger. A little bigger for you to see.
Yeah, when this first came in though, it was, and that's when I realized that Chief Clint retired. So I read it in the paper.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I wondered where he was, because he hadn't been in any meetings. Has the new chief weighed in on this, or probably not?
I have not met the new chief.
I
I don't think he started yet.
No, November. My second, or I guess the first question was, when this first came in with John, he was talking strictly about locker rooms, and this seems to morph into something larger.
Well, that,
You needed to.
Yeah, no, I know it did.
You needed to.
I'm not disputing that at all.
that came out of the last meeting I was at, you
Yeah.
weren't there.
Yeah.
But I was the one that said, I think you need to take a more global look at this.
Right.
Because if I was to just renovate and propose something here, well, what happens to this there? I mean,
You
you just,
can't, everything gets,
you're not
when
gonna,
you move one, you have to move another, you have to move another. I
and
get it.
if you're gonna do something now to do this, you should have a plan of how everything's gonna fall into place.
Yes, then my point is this the thing that you have to do all this, or can it be done in stages?
Yeah,
Doesn't
good
sound
question.
like it. Yeah.
All of this that's happening currently for the police department stays operating. This corridor is what we're generating, and right now it goes through a storage room. All we need to do is clean out a storage room, and they do all of this renovation at once.
Yeah.
And they have access right here through an overhead door and a door to get into this space. They'll renovate all of this as phase one. They bust through that wall. This is done. So now this physical training room becomes a swing space for them. Because they could put Detective Bureau in here temporarily. And now they do this, and
That's
they
just,
do this.
right, no
So
square
you
footage.
kind
that's
of-
just- yeah.
Now, if they move into these locker rooms, this becomes vacant. So then you do this. So yeah, it's a phased approach over time, but it's all doable.
How about
If this is all
economically,
done for the Sally Port, then they can continue to use this entrance for prisoner processing. But once this is done, then they go do this. And while they're doing that, they might have to go to New Britain for a while. They use reciprocal agreements with other towns. And there's a way around all this.
Right.
But they say, okay, we're gonna go to New Britain for the next couple months, and we'll do this.
Well, my fear is this is gonna cost X,
Well,
and somebody's gonna ask, well, can you do 1/4 X,
No,
have this plan, or is it all, I
It's all-
understand the phasing,
it's all or
it's,
nothing.
this is all or nothing.
I tried to take that approach, but I was running out of answers as to say, where do you stop?
Right.
I mean, are you gonna stop?
Oh, I know the answer, I'm just trying to, the
What
mayor
are
and
you
council
not
are the ones that
gonna
you're gonna
do?
have to,
Certain things you're not gonna touch, like dispatch is not gonna, records.
but if you look at it this way, we
you're
had
not
two
gonna
big,
touch it.
big dollar items. We did the dispatch over already,
right,
and the cells were done.
Cells, those are done.
So those are done, those are big ticket items. The rest of this stuff, the space is pre-existing. The next question I would have is, on the HVAC side of this, with the new COVID stuff, we're gonna have to probably redo all the HVACs, correct?
I think it's probably time anyway.
And then down there, is there a sprinkler system down there? Yes or no? I don't think there
I don't
is.
think there is.
I know I think we grandfathered in.
Yeah.
But maybe we started.
well, would the
That's the question I have.
HVAC system be in conjunction with this building as well, or is that totally, is separated?
It's separated now.
Okay.
There are units right now for this space, and there are units they have just for this.
Yeah, it makes sense, I just didn't know.
But they're probably gonna be new units, they're probably gonna
Yeah.
be more air changes.
Right.
You know,
Well, the
because-
town's gonna have to do, if this space gets done, it's gonna be looking at HVAC for this space, for a
Oh,
lot of
no, no,
spaces.
I think we can focus it just down there to do the renovations to that space only. Keep it there, doesn't need to go anywhere else.
There's nothing you need to do here.
Right.
And this is where the demising wall would be between Board of Ed and the PD, right here at the lobby. They still have their corridor out. We gave them a little janitor's closet here. It's all still Board of Ed.
No, the locker rooms are the new generation locker rooms, the bigger lockers for the drying of the vests and all that stuff.
Has power in it, has ventilation in it, has proper size. These are 2x2 by 72 inches high with the hooper underneath it. Yeah,
computerized ports for charging and all that starts with
this
their
has
tasers and-
what any new facility would request. And what that space need describes is what you're gonna find in.
But you bring up, obviously, phase one is easy to identify.
Right.
And then whether you want to organize everything else,
Well, that would be relatively simple.
this is easy.
Yeah,
This is just 2 doors in the corridor.
yeah,
And then you have it in your city.
right.
Hey, Tom? Couple questions. I got a couple questions, and I agree with Brian re-evaluating the site and updating the master plan, so I think that's a good idea. Those Sally ports, are those going to be adaptable to the site, or is there additional site work to make those happen? And I'm thinking entrance and security, extra costs that aren't included within the building. And number two, I don't agree with what I'm saying, but what happens in 10, 15 years if it's not a 75, 20% women to men or men to women, but a 50-50? What happens to the locker room facilities if you're 50-50 instead of 75-25?
Or how are these rooms?
All right, the female locker room is really the concern, not the male. The male, we have 49, and they're not looking to really go above 50. So the male, we have taken care of, even if it's 100% male department. The delta is gonna be on the female locker room side. If you get above 12, we have space on the other side of the wall, on the other side of the locker room, to add more lockers.
Okay.
What we're showing right now is a,
Gear drying, which is just a clothes rod. So if you're gonna come in with everything wet, raincoats, everything, you're not gonna wanna put that into your locker.
but we can secure it.
Within their locker space on a hanger. So that space gives you the ability to add about 8 more lockers in the future. And that, I don't see any department getting really a 30% male to female ratio in the next 20 years.
How many?
I know, but you gotta be able to answer the question in case it does.
7 or 8. So there is space. There's space within the female locker room to add more lockers.
Okay.
And the way these locker rooms are designed now, there's access control not to the toilets and showers and sinks. There's access control to the locker area themselves. So the reason being, this physical training room, they allow all staff to use that physical training room, whether you're civilian or sworn or volunteer or even retired. You can come in and use that.
So that's why we have some civilian lockers in there too. So if they want to leave something there, they'll have a locker for civilian use. And the civilians would have access over into the locker rooms to shower, use the facilities. But there's our doors now to the patrol locker rooms. And that's access controlled. Because those lockers now, you may be storing firearms in those lockers. They have the ability not to go home with their firearms anymore. And for safety reasons, a lot of people don't want to take their firearms home. So these have individual gun lockers in them. So we don't want civilians roaming around in the patrol locker room area. That's access control for safety reasons. And that's in the design for these 49 and for these 12.
Just a little design tip there, that's all.
How about the Sally ports though? Is there gonna be any additional outside work?
Yes. Right now, there's a curb that comes
About halfway into that second bay,
there's a tree that's,
not looking so great back there.
so there would be some new curbing, pull that curbing back, add some pavement along the back, and to raise the grade about
8 inches to get to the new dive team bin.
But we've looked at it, and all you have to do is mill back the existing pavement, raise grade a little bit here, and then you have flush entrances into all three. You have a flush entrance right now into one. But you
Right.
need to create it for the other two bays.
Special reinforcement for
No, but all of the slab in this area gets taken out. Couple reasons why we're gonna take the slab out of the pistol range. One, we need to get a lot of underground plumbing in that area. Two, we want to eliminate any lead contamination. And the years of use in that firing range, it's gonna be hard to get the lead out of the slab. And by removing it, you eliminate that hazard, and it goes bye-bye. That's where a lot of our plumbing goes. And then we also have to look on how that plumbing gets tied to sanitary. You have a couple sanitary exits on this building. Whether we exit the building and tie into sanitary outside, or you have a sanitary line on this side of the building, you have a sanitary line on this side of the building. So we'll probably head towards this sanitary line. And that could be exterior connections to sanitary.
When are you contemplating showing this to the police?
I wanted your feedback first. I think it was only right to come here. The police department has seen it. They've endorsed it. I think I would like to go to the police commission with at least your recommendation. I just want to be politically correct in all this.
I don't think there is such a thing. Couple questions.
Yeah.
One is there any sacrifice that they made that we're gonna hear about later? In space or needs, that, you know, we should have had this, and, you know, why was this left out? Is there anything like that out there that we need to know about?
There's one thing we're not showing on this plan that they're still requesting, and it's still in my space needs assessment, is sheltered parking for the fleet vehicles, a carport. That's, I'm not, that's
That would
just
have
a
nothing to
foot
do
limit.
with this, it would be,
They
Yeah.
have parking that's here, and they have parking that's over here. That would just be what's the cost, and can you fund it? That's kind of a question to the town, but that's still a request that's in here that you're not seeing.
Then-
Everything else that they requested, you're seeing.
Then why don't you show it, and show it as an alternate?
Yeah.
And then we could also talk about later putting solar panels. on
Yes.
top of it,
Right.
Stuff like that,
I
so
agree.
it offset the cost of it.
Yeah, it could be solar ready, they could be solar carports.
So throw that out there now, show us an alternate on there. Because again, I don't wanna hear that you guys didn't meet what we needed. I wanna hear that we met everything that they were asking for. We tried to address it in this plan, which I feel very comfortable. I think you did a great job out of it. And then the last question I have is, what are you seeing right now in cost per square foot for renovations? And again, I know it's a loaded question, but range, let's say.
We're seeing about $450 a square foot with mechanicals.
For renovation.
Well, you're taking the slab out too, and that's
Yeah.
yeah, and plus
subcontent, well,
environmental contamination.
Making
Well,
sure
we're gonna let him come in here
Sample
and
the
lick,
whole slab.
gonna lick it
And then
all
it's
up.
Don't, and
Right.
Makes the percentages work, yes.
okay.
the waste stream is the whole slab, not the top quarter inch. It's not like it's PCBs. Different.
And that's my
That's
swag.
what you're seeing, yeah.
So,
Now, you have areas here of heavy renovation.
yeah,
You have areas here of light
Should
renovation.
have average, yeah. Be careful.
so 450 times 15,000. Touches.
No, you're not touching.
Like 75%.
Right, yeah, 75 or 80% of budget.
Yeah, some areas don't get touched.
And then in that
And the
number,
expensive areas don't get touched.
correct, they're done.
So you're taking care of your most expensive dollars per square foot space.
And in that number, we're talking everything to the current, let's call it COVID standards for air movement.
You're gonna have COVID standards, you're gonna have accreditation standards, both state and national accreditation. The one thing that this plan
Say
is.
that first.
It will
Because
be.
COVID, people are gonna think it's gonna go away, but the accreditation is never gonna go away. You're
Renovation
either gonna meet it or you're not.
and state statutes, right now where you're falling short with this plan.
Right.
The one thing that I can't stand here and say you've met is to the letter of the law is ADA. Ideally, the public bathroom should be handicap accessible. You just don't have that capability, and we weren't touching the bathrooms, but they're not ADA accessible. So in order to meet the requirements for ADA, if you have public coming to the facility, the only ADA bathrooms you have now are the patrol bathrooms.
Well, as long as they're available.
But then
They're in a
it
secure area.
means you're escorting people down here. to
Yeah.
use it.
Well, that will be the cost. To have
That's
that
the
against the
downside.
cost of having something that may not be used ever. Then you have an.
But it doesn't matter, it's a cut along.
Yeah.
It's covered.
You really are
But
hoping that
can't you
this-
still have it, I think if you escort them, you can still,
You can do anything with allowing them the access to it.
yeah, that's my point.
Ideally, you would want to restrict this to staff.
Right, I understand that. I'm just saying, look, if it's gonna cost some egregious number.
But if there's public meeting in here and you have public accommodations, you have a restroom,
Right.
but you need to make them,
What would it take to get those top restrooms ADA? What's the issue?
it would
Space,
be-
just space.
it would be space and then blowing these out and making these.
So actually increase the square footage in the back wall of that building by
Yeah.
8 feet or so.
Yeah, you would have to bump this out.
Right.
Is there any way we go over to the other corner of that lobby and put a bathroom there and then take those two and make it one?
Well, you don't have the plumbing.
Yeah,
So we're gonna take up the slab.
right.
It's gonna be very expensive. You have over in here,
It's cheaper than that space.
you have what you need for plumbing and sanitary and drains, and
Right, so just have to blow the wall out.
you just have to make it to a size that meets the accommodations for ADA. So you're asking what's the downsides?
Yeah.
That might come back to haunt the plan, because the PD might say, we're not escorting people. Then you don't meet the ADA.
Well, make
Well,
it.
my suggestion would be to make a plan with
Yeah,
the
well, I was gonna say,
ADA
make it
compliant.
alternate, right? We do it.
I mean, is there any way that you can put it in whatever, this space right here? Because that's close to the existing locker room.
Plumbing.
I mean, no, I know, but
Well,
it's
we
close
have-
to the
Yeah,
existing
we have plumbing
in there. So I mean, that way at least they're not having to run all the way down the hallway to a, maybe it's just another series of doors or whatever. But I'm just, I mean, it might be easier than bumping out the building a little bit.
Ideally,
Yeah.
anybody coming to visit the PD,
As access.
that's where it wants to be.
Right.
It could be 2 in. Somebody's
Right.
gonna, well, just a dispatcher's not gonna escort you into the bathroom. So there
Well, it's
is,
not ADA compliant now, right?
it's not. No. But if you're gonna do this level of
Yeah,
renovation,
you're gonna have to address it.
Yeah.
now they're gonna ask, why didn't you,
So make the change.
I would say make that go as not worth it.
Any sort of lawsuit.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
there's a
Takes one
federal,
person, yeah.
It's a lawsuit, yeah.
so but I just told you where the
Yeah,
deficiencies are.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Make the change, Brian. Yeah, good.
But we could, it's capable. No, when I just explained this to the police department, by going from this to this, they were quite pleasantly surprised. This really gives them what they need, and who I was talking to, who was the chiefs and lieutenants, they didn't find any flaws in this design. Fully endorsed it.
Who, that was Chris?
That was Chris.
Okay.
Yeah, at the time
Did
was
John
Chris.
have any input into this, or was he out by
He was out. It was 3 lieutenants and Chris. But the
Well-
detective lieutenant, when I explained all of this and how it works and how it's sequenced and how you now have locking and double locking, he said, this is what I've been talking about. But they're not able to do. They receive evidence here
they process it here. They store it here. So every time they're coming into corridors to move it.
Yeah.
And that's just not an accredited process. With this, it's all cleaned up. They receive it here, they put it in pass-through lockers here. They take it out of the locker and they process it here. They bring it right into storage, or they can bring it right into total lock storage. It never enters into a corridor. In any path in that process. So it really was what they were looking for.
Well, speaking for myself, I would be perfectly happy moving this along to the police commission with the change of the ADA compliant bathroom.
Let's take a vote on it. I make a motion, we accept the plan as drawn with the exception of the ADA rooms being.
And show the crowd.
Second. And the alternate of carport. Have a second?
Yep.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We had one last thing we were asked to do in our agreement is a cost estimate. Now, if this is a plan that's endorsed by you, we still have to take it to the police commission. When do you feel comfortable that we now get a cost estimate on this? And the cost estimate would also be done with phasing in mind. So you get a cost for this. And then I might have the cost estimator break out what's the cost for this. And then what's the cost for this? And then,
Well, we have to do it all at once.
well, I'm at,
No, if it's phased, we can do it over time. The thing is, the dollars are right where I thought they'd be, honestly. The number you said reinforced the dollars, what I thought. And again, if we phase it correctly, the numbers may work very beneficial to the town. Where this thing could be done over a 2-year period, let's say,
It's over 2 budget period. I'm
And then
thinking
it makes it
$7
very-
million. Is that a reasonable number? 7 million?
I think it'll be at.
Yeah.
I think it'll be at.
Okay, that's a good number then.
I think it's gonna be around 550 to 6, depending on where materials go in the next 6 months.
Inflation, if you're talking 2 years,
7 million.
you're talking 2 years, it's gonna be closer
Yeah,
to.
but you buy the contracts out, right?
Yeah. But the heavy lift is what they first came and said they needed.
Right,
That's where all the effort is and all the money, most of the money's gonna be spent.
right,
Everything else is, I'm called paying doors.
right.
I think this is the most cost-effective solution we can do,
No, I think
and
it's
it
a
has to be
great
done.
idea,
I don't-
yeah.
Well, and it gives you a reasonable
And that's
timeframe. It's
why I
not like
say
in 2 years,
accreditation,
okay,
because
yeah.
How many more
It's not
times are they gonna
lipstick.
get somebody coming in here and saying, hey, you gotta change your police department? Understand this.
And now it's a state requirement
Right.
to meet accreditation standards, and they don't.
Do you know, is there any grant money or money out there like that with the state or anything?
Just steep grants, that's all the towns can really apply. There's really nothing else that's.
And as far as like the structures out there, we put solar on it, and maybe some stuff we could pick off there.
Correct.
Pretty good, Brian, great job.
Yes.
I was excited to show it to you tonight.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Because I think it really came together better than I even hoped. Hey, you come into these, you don't know what you're gonna have to work with, and you want some extra of these now? Or you want Mike? Make it happen.
Yeah, Mike, I could give out autographed copies, of course.
Yeah, autograph.
Just get an autograph.
They always come in handy.
So the process would be, Brian did, I'm sure you're well aware, once we get it through the police commission, it goes back to council.
You probably want your cost estimate before that, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless they wholesale vote it down, which I doubt they're gonna do, they'll probably love it as much as we did. So you can start the cost estimate.
Do you want to endorse then? You have to give me some approval to get to that cost estimate phase.
As soon as they
As soon as the police commission,
blesses it, jump
Okay,
in.
all right. That's,
if you need anything formal, we'll have a telephone.
And how long, Brian, let's say, the process is gonna work, how long do you do drawings, finalized drawings, stuff like that? For that
this
HVAC,
is not that, 4 months.
4 months?
Not a lot of
So-
heavy lifting here.
Based on the timeframes we're looking at, probably first of the year approval, April timeframe, you have drawings, certain bidding, pricing.
The earliest would be getting somebody summer of next
Correct.
to start it. But this being all interior, you can start at any time. The sooner the better. The way pricing's going right now, sooner the better.
They should put pricing on the job in Jamaica. We have to ship everything over, and we got numbers, just the transit cost for the shipping was, 3.2 million.
Oh,
We have dedicated parties, it's a special project, but anyways,
From where to from where?
two ports, Miami and Houston.
Oh, okay.
So, got a call into them, the project, it's moving really fast, so I called today again, just to reconfirm the pricing, went up, 270,000. And, you know.
And under
2
normal
weeks,
conditions, the 3.2 would have been,
Probably 2.5,
Yeah.
maybe a little less than, because it's dedicated to barges.
Yeah.
So, that's the only way I can skip the port. If I had to go to a deep water ship, it'd take months to get.
it's, and that stuff going out, stuff coming in is still a problem too.
I left it open-ended, I couldn't
Yeah.
give a number bring it back.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be there for 2 years,
Who knows what we're getting it back yet.
maybe never.
You may never get it back.
Great job, thank you.
Yeah, very nice.
Is you still with us? You're awful quiet over there.
I would like a little more clarification on the actual motion.
Made a motion to
Move forward with the
move
plan.
it to the police commission for their approval.
To approve Brian's plan so that Brian can take it to the police commission.
Correct.
With the bathroom and
With the
covered
amendments, to the restroom for be ADA compliant,
Mhm.
and then as an alternate, the parking facility,
The covered part.
covered parking facility.
Thanks.
On second.
Okay,
Thanks,
Thanks,
Brian.
Brian.
all right,
Great job.
thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget your jacket.
You can tell.
Take it easy.
Good to see you.
Okay, senior center, community center update.
Okay, Jen Chia gave me a little quick little update as well as the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
How about letting these people that,
Well, this will be 2 minutes,
okay,
okay? They did a site visit, what they're doing is going, and Bart might know some of this, they're doing site visits to research other facilities. So they did a site visit to Bloomfield this week, and they have 3 more scheduled this month in Newtown, Mansfield, and Glastonbury. And they also, let's see, consider new, they're considering all kinds of options, and they were gonna also, stating they're working with us and having Tom or Kerry attend. I talked to Tom, he did not attend the last meeting. He hasn't heard anything, but I think that they're gonna be calling him to pick his brains, as well as Jim Mahoney on grants and that kind of thing. So that's where they're going.
And my only comment to certain people was they should have done this before they did the statement of need.
Right.
I'm gonna say that at the meeting.
So that's pretty
As
good.
long as we have an invoice from QA&M.
Actually, we don't have one,
no,
do
we
we?
don't,
Yeah, they,
we don't.
yeah, we don't have one. It was just put on there as a placeholder.
Oh, okay, you're right.
He doesn't get back to me
Sorry.
sometimes until
I
after.
withdraw my statement. So, Board of Ed, HVAC upgrades.
Yes, we have, Eric, can you hear us?
I can indeed. Can you hear me?
All right, yes. He's from CES,
Okay.
and they sent design drawings and specs just before, well, what happened was they sent it to me around 3 o'clock, and then I had too many meetings, I couldn't get them out. So I got them out to you guys probably 20 minutes before this meeting. But there's, it looks like the details are very, the specs are detailed, and the drawings is multiple sheets. So Eric can go through Willard as well as Hubbard and Griswold where they are. So Eric, it's all yours.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Just so you all know, I'm working closely with Derek Bride. So Derek Bride and I are both working on all three of these projects essentially. So for Willard, like Mike said, he's got the mechanical and electrical drawings. Those are essentially done. You know, those are ready to go out to bid pending any review or comments from yourselves. We are still, I think, waiting on the package from Fryer, and I think also the civil engineer. There's just some minor civil work associated with the project, so we're still waiting on those pieces. But the mechanical and electrical is all set. So that's kind of the high level status of where Willard is.
Yeah, and Eric, I can add to that. Fryer did send progress drawings. Their site plan is a little light on detail, and I think they said you're right. They're waiting for some civil stuff. So they actually got them, so we can process the invoice. You know, if you're satisfied with that. So anyway, sorry, Eric.
No, you're good. Yeah, so that was kind of it for Willard. So we're very close there. And then Richard Hubbard and Mary Griswold, we made a lot of progress in the last, I'll say 3-4 weeks on the HVAC side. So we're probably more than halfway complete on both of those schools from an HVAC perspective. We're a little bit behind electrically, but I expect that the electrical work will catch up to where the HVAC is. We just need to go out to I think it was Richard Hubbard and just look at something again electrically before we finalize those drawings. But I would expect within the next month, certainly before Thanksgiving, we'd be done with those schools as well, at least on the mechanical and electrical side. So that was that's kind of, I mean, if you guys want any more detail or questions, I'm happy to answer, but that's kind of the high level update of where we're at status wise.
Anybody, any questions, or we're good for now?
Yeah. Just, I guess, for this group.
And again, just like Willard, we'll get the drawings for Hubbard and Griswold in your hands to take a look at it, make sure you're good with it, you're okay with, you know, the level of detail, obviously, and the scope itself and where we're showing things. And then, you know, whenever we get all those, whatever review comments you have, we can incorporate those and then put it out to bid along with Fryer's work. And then same thing, you know, any civil work that we have, we'll all go out at once.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, Eric, thanks.
Thank you, Eric.
Great job.
All right. You're very welcome. Have a good night.
You have invoices, I'll do them all at once at the end. Board of Ed, close out.
Yes. Kevin met with Tom Smith and they went through all the financials, and Kevin is just waiting for, I guess, a final $0 invoice from SPA. And then, so David Stein is going to email that to Kevin. Once Kevin has that, he's going to send everything to Jeff D'Onofrio to review the bid books and sign the ED 049F. The final step then is for the superintendent to sign the ED 049F. And then at some point, the state DOE is going to be looking for this group to sign off on, at some point, we're going to have to sign off. The PBC is going to sign off.
There is a letter out there that was written by Brian. He was evident. That was our piece. We agreed that the project was 100%
Right.
Right.
And that was wild.
That was one of the last things he did.
Yeah, I think I told Kevin there's meeting minutes and a letter that the PBC issued. So that might actually satisfy that. But Kevin said.
But has the state come back and said anything about the remaining?
I don't think they even started the audit.
They haven't even
No.
started the audit.
Yeah, I don't think that.
All this big work.
This is all pre-audit.
Yeah, this, I guess, once this form goes in and they get everything they need, then the clock starts ticking for the audit process can then commence, finished in 3 years or whatever. So that's kind of where that stands. So that's all I got on that.
All right.
And they've been poking around here. Every couple of weeks they come by, they're looking for stuff in the back of the vault. And
Hey, Kevin.
Kevin came, Mr. Richards came, Doug came. Jeff Cugno. I mean, there was a couple of flurries of, they came here, they found some stuff, they left, and Kevin came back, and, you know, it was, Tom Smith came back, so they were.
John Richards probably a better record than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's been a big help to them, so. So that's where it stands.
Good job.
And
Now
then-
to the Michael Hearn expertise.
Yes,
It's like herding turtles with that.
the Wash Bay update. So we sent out, as you were directed, clarification and question document that basically specified what the town could do, can do, like the highway department, and also had questions about some of the open items in the bids. So we got 2 responses back, one from J.A. Rosa, who elegantly put together this one page. When I sent this out, but anyway, I made some other copies. They answered everything in one document, one page. Didn't change their prices, but offered with the schedule of values on the excavation items. If we want to do something, they gave us a shopping list to say they can negotiate with us to reduce their bid even further if we want. But their bid had everything, all the site work, everything. It did not assume the town would do anything in their bid. So that's kind of a nice clean package. Their number was all inclusive. They do have some exclusions of environmental, hazardous materials, contaminated soil testing, yada, yada, yada. But pretty much it was an all-in, except for independent testing and inspections, which I thought that we wanted in their bid, but then third party, and also the diversity, who also sent a package, had a philosophical issue with that as well. They said third party should be true third party. The town should really bring in the third party and not the contractor.
Yeah.
So both of them are consistent along those lines. So, so diversity sent their package in today. I have hard copies of that as well. They bumped up their number. So now they're about $35,000 higher than J.A. Rosa. So their bid was not all in. They had a lot of
For clarification, we did not ask them to do anything but clarify.
yes.
We didn't ask.
I didn't ask for a revised bid.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't want that, but they actually sent like almost like an addendum of like they put the new bid number on their original bid so you can see the comparison. But
Right.
so, and because as I think someone had pointed out, they've already seen all the numbers, so they could, still be, sort of, not giving a fair number, or they're, they're just angling for the job, whatever. So,
Our question was really to clarify your issue.
yes,
Right.
yeah, and they sent actually a pretty detailed package too. They had the adjusted bid, answered the questions about holding prices, which truck wash system they were going to use. They had some gaps in their information about subcontractors and also experience in design, in public sector design build projects. They added some of that in, answered everything else, threw in some allowances for the permitting that was missing. So their number is going to come up regardless of the final number. It's going to come up. So that's sort of where things stand.
These are the 2, right?
Yeah.
You eliminated the other.
The third never responded to our request for information. I checked with the person meeting today, she said she hasn't heard anything from them, that even that they got anything. So they were high, they probably looked at the numbers and maybe they just checked out. I'm not really sure, so that's kind of where things
So they're
stand.
willing to hold their prices to what, 12/31?
That was diversity. Rosa said to the end of this month. So, and then the vehicle, that's for everything except for the truck wash bay. The wash bay manufacturer would hold under Rosa's bid until the end of the year. So Rosa would be to the end of this month, so there might have to be some adjustment if we go beyond that, which you have to actually.
Okay, so we don't have we still have to go back to town council
Yes.
with this. So do we go back with a recommendation of which Rosa or diversity to accept? Or do we go back with a generic, it's gonna cost either this or this, depending on who we choose?
I think
Or
all three bids we have, you have to put them on bid. Right, and then based on the information, the request for further information that we have, you know, qualifies this, and then we make our recommendation for the project.
I guess my point was, since they only allocated half this amount, is it something, I guess we should do it that way to show this is what it is.
Just because we didn't budget the right amount of money, that's not our fault.
Right.
We went through the process.
Right,
based on-
we didn't budget the money, they did.
Well, based on the cost of materials increasing,
Right.
this is the numbers.
This is it.
This is it. I
Yeah,
mean,
even if you take out the wash bay, you're still, you know,
Right.
and there is some cushion in the number because there's a few high ticket items on the permitting. Like inland wetlands, I talked to Jim Horrible, they might not have to do a $15,000 or $20,000 heck grass analysis of the stream.
Yeah.
They might get a waiver if you do compensatory mitigation,
Yeah.
so there's some things that could come off the number. And then maybe you talk to Rosa and say, how else can we do with some value engineering? I'm not sure how you handle that after you,
Well, I think,
you know.
Well, we gotta put it in, and then if we get any savings, we get the savings.
So it's
That's the way I look at it.
it's the process.
Right.
So, you know, we can put the numbers and go back to council. If they decide to move forward with the job, and let's say one of these contractors is selected to move forward, it's, you know, they're gonna have kickoff meetings with all the different groups.
Right.
And then based on those meetings, the outcome of those meetings, in the meeting minutes, will be documented of what changes are made, and that could address either up or down the price based on those meetings.
Right.
Because a lot of this, all the contractors made a lot of assumptions in their bid that may or may not prove out. So.
All right, well,
To your point, we're gonna have the rack and stack, the complete rack and stack first, because we can't pass it along to anybody else until
right,
we can show them, here's what the numbers are. We look at them, this is what we recommend.
And I think you already have that put together, we just got to update it.
Yeah, the bid tabulation, yeah. And typically what we do with our bids is we go and we recommend, we say, staff recommends this. So it makes it clean for the town council, except if you have any questions about evaluating the bids, but usually.
I think we're gonna do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Put it on the bid tab, you know, on the back of what they.
are we gonna have them in for interviews, or should we bottom? I mean, I don't
I would
think
at this point.
Yeah.
By the time this goes through the process, it'll be 2 months from now.
we should. Right.
So you're gonna have that for us next meeting, you're gonna.
Oh, yeah.
Us and recommend.
And one-
Well, how do you guys want to, I know, you're saying we're gonna blow a month, right?
Like, we can do it
Yeah.
like, we can do an electronic vote.
Okay,
I think that's the best.
If Bart's
Yeah, because
available in Utah.
yeah,
I'm here, falling asleep, but I'm here.
How many wives do you have out there now?
Well, let's see, I've got the 3 that I know of. But I lost my beer wife here, so that doesn't count.
oh, okay. Okay, so I'll adjust the bid tab, put a package together as it would go to the town council, and then do them in a drafted agenda item too.
Yeah, get it all
Yeah.
done, and we'll just.
That way, we'll almost like have it as a package you guys can take a look at with the
The
narrative.
idea is to have it at tonight's council meeting.
Yeah, well, the next, the 11/2 is the election, so that's not a council meeting, so it'll be the 11/16, November 16th. So it'll be the next available town council meeting.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's go.
yeah. And then we'll discuss, I guess, what they're gonna say is, well, you have 500, you're asking for 750. So,
Yeah, it's no problem.
yeah,
That's how you do that.
Well, remember, we also kind of looked at that whole project and kind of gave it our own spin, so we've got to somehow justify why we came up with what we did.
yeah, but even the 750 would be without putting the truck wash in. So
Right.
you could say, if we could phase that, just do the building and the guys can just use what they have right now in an enclosed conditioned space, but
Still gonna cost us.
you're still gonna be light on the budget, so where does that money come from? So, anyway, so I guess that'll just.
We don't have a nickel to spend.
You'll have to help me with the agenda item write-up as far as this is our recommendation and, just note the budget implications
By
and,
the way, I saw a whole bunch of people up on the high school roof
oh,
the other day.
were they doing jacketing?
I didn't want to get arrested because there's nobody in the parking lot but a police
Yeah.
car.
I believe that's underway and.
Sure looked like jacketing to
Yeah.
me.
So that's kind of where we stand on the truck wash.
Okay,
Excellent, good job.
Thanks, Mike.
Okey dokey.
You have a new career. All things
Over-
truck wash.
Over budget projects?
Somewhere in the library it's in. All right, I think that's all. Oh, but no, I have three invoices. First invoice, 4 invoices, one from Lisa. First invoice is from Jakunski Humes. It's, out of a total lump sum fee of $25,000, they're billing us $14,600, $5,000 for the needs assessment update, and 80% of schematic design for $9,600, a total of $14,600.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes. And then I have 2 invoices from CES. First is for Hubbard School, dated September 30th, 2021. The invoice total is $1,800 out of a total fee of $45,000. It is.
They have a note on the top, on, as far as a little narrative on what they did.
Performed field visit,
Yeah.
started work on design drawings and engineering calculations.
Right.
That's what I was looking for.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. And second invoice, also from CES for Griswold units. It is performed field visit, started work on design drawings and engineering calculations out of a total fee of $58,500. They are billing us $2,340.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Oh, passes as well. No, that's it for the invoices. Unless you have any others.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
I second.
In favor?
Aye.
There was a head on the screen.
Yeah.
I don't know who it was.
Said Pete.
Pete,
He's gone.
He's
he
got,
was watching us.
Yeah, I had no idea who it was.
Hey, just let you guys know, it was 37 and snowing here this morning.
Oh, boy, oh, nice. It was 80 degrees here today, you should have been here.
I know I should have.
Take care, Bart.
We'll see you guys. See you next month.
yeah, take care, Bart.
Be
So
safe.
long.
Bye.
Don't worry, Lisa, there was only 2 participants.
The guy's name, he wasn't there at the beginning of the meeting, and all of a sudden he showed up.
Yeah.
Why, he wanted to announce himself.
Well, stop, there it is. Yes.